My sister ran away from her wedding. My dad told me to take her place. Me, you must be dreaming. My dad, $5 million. I didn't bat an eye, the money doesn't matter, frankly. What really matters is that I've been crushing on my future brother-in-law for ages. My sister and I aren't related by blood. We look absolutely nothing alike, no one would ever guess we were siblings. In fact, we barely qualify as sisters. We are the main characters of one of those absurd true-false heiress dramas. I am the true heiress, she is the false one. However, unlike those stories where the real parents only show up when the protagonist turns 18, my biological parents found me when I was 10. As for my sister's biological parents, one was an abusive alcoholic and the other spent all day gambling. Neither was reliable. Her family situation was so miserable, and she was so sweet and innocent, that my parents didn't leave her to fend for herself. They adopted her as their daughter. And just like that, I got a younger sister. She was very cute. Completely unlike her rotten birth parents, a good apple from a bad tree. She was always well behaved and sensible, softly calling me sis. Even when I pinched her cheek, she just looked stunned. Super adorable. Nobody could dislike a sister that cute. Except, apparently, my parents. All they see is dollar signs. As soon as Daisy turned 20, they immediately started trying to marry her off. The nice term is business merger or alliance. The ugly term is selling her. It was then that I realized the truth. They hadn't kept her because they couldn't bear to see her suffer, they kept her because she was pretty and they figured they could sell her later. Why didn't they try to sell me? Probably because I'm a little bit evil. They wouldn't dare. Ugh, the meek get exploited. Poor Daisy. The fiancé they picked for Daisy was a huge deal. I heard he was the perfect husband candidate. Handsome, rich, busy, and never home. Even better, he had zero dating history. My mother tried to convince Daisy, "You'll live the good life forever if you marry him. Look how handsome Ethan Thorne is. If you just nod, you'll be his first love." I watched the show, snarkily cutting in, "No dating history doesn't mean he's a virgin. He might be super experienced, you know." My mother chose to ignore me. I didn't ignore her, though. Let me see. Don't play favorites. Why are you picking a husband for my sister but not for me, my dearest mother? I forced a sickeningly sweet voice and leaned in. My mom looked constipated. "This is none of your business." "How is it not my business? I'm here to vet him for you." I snatched the iPad and scrutinized the profile photo. Oh, it's Ethan Thorne. And he's actually willing to get married? Ethan Thorne was the most outstanding person of our generation, the classic successful kid everyone else compares you to. Not to mention, the Thornes weren't even remotely on the same level as us. Did he come here on a poverty reduction mission? I asked, genuinely surprised. My mom immediately stood up, ready to take Daisy upstairs to talk. I stuck to them like glue. "Wait up, I want to listen, too." Daisy followed behind, head bowed. When they reached the second-floor door, Mom yanked Daisy inside, and I was left staring at the closed door. I sighed up at the ceiling. They really do favor Daisy. I am truly a poor, lonely soul. Ugh, I should just order takeout. Later that night, my sister knocked on my door. I opened it and saw her wearing fluffy flannel pajamas. They were white, with 2 long ears on the hood. Like a rabbit. Especially since her eyes were red and puffy, she looked even more like a bunny. So cute. I let her in and pinched her cheek. The texture was great. The thought that this adorable sister would soon belong to Ethan Thorne made me jealous. After 2 seconds of jealousy, the realization hit me. Why are your eyes red? Were you crying? When she heard my question, Daisy threw herself into my arms and burst into tears. "Sis, I don't want to get married. I'm 5'8", and Daisy is 5'3". Holding her felt like holding a doll. Looking down at her made her even cuter. My God, How can a creature as adorable as a little sister exist in this world? Through her sobs, I got my head together. Why don't you want to get married? Is it because you don't like Ethan? To be fair, Ethan Thorne really was a good catch. My parents weren't lying this time. If she passed up Ethan, she'd never find anyone with better prospects. Daisy bit her lip and nodded. I don't know him, and I don't like him. Plus. Her voice trailed off. I raised an eyebrow. Plus what? Her ears turned slightly red. I have a boyfriend. Who the hell kidnapped my sister? Forget Ethan for a second. I raged. Who is it? She held me tight, looking pathetic. Sis, I really don't want to marry a stranger. I just want to be with the person I love. A moment ago, it was like, now it's love. What kind of scumbag stole my sister? Heartbreaking. But no matter how heartbreaking, I had to deal with the immediate problem. I ruffled her hair and sighed, fine, run away. It was summer break anyway. 2 months should be enough time for her to disappear. According to my parents' plan, the two of them were supposed to meet next week. She could make excuses for the first meeting, but she couldn't avoid him for 2 whole months. Ethan Thorne isn't an idiot. Once she made her attitude clear, he would naturally understand, and then Daisy wouldn't have to marry him. My sister asked timidly, can I really? I patted her head, of course. You're just too obedient. That's why people keep arranging her life. Anyone can take a bite out of her. She's so easy to bully, who wouldn't want to? I kind of want to bully her, too. I pinched her face again. She looked slightly annoyed, puffing out her cheeks. Still cute. Under my careful guidance, my sister ran off. She took a late-night flight overseas. One good thing about flying abroad is the guaranteed time difference. As long as she responds to messages quickly, she can always dodge our parents. Our family isn't powerful enough to have people around the globe trying to catch her. Though, if it were Ethan Thorne hunting her, that might be a different story. My parents were frantic when they discovered Daisy was gone. I made a snarky comment, oh wow, sis is missing. Why don't you ask her all-powerful fiancé for help finding her? They wouldn't dare ask him. If they did, he'd realize Daisy didn't want him and had bailed. Hearing my suggestion only made them angrier. My dad grabbed the coffee mug off the end table and threw it at me. As if he could hit me. I was leaning over the upstairs railing, looking down at them. Our house has high ceilings, and Dad is a middle-aged, desk-bound man with a big gut. He couldn't throw anything that high. Me, hee, you can't hit me. He got furious and tried to come upstairs to beat me. Me, hee, you can't beat me. I'm a fierce fighter, and once we got rich, I even hired professionals for training. He's been hollowed out by booze and women. He's no match for me. His face was red with anger as he pointed at me. You. I smiled sweetly. Yes, I'm here, Dad. As soon as I said that, he froze. He looked me up and down with a strange expression that made my skin crawl. Then, he asked in an equally strange tone, what did you just call me? Something's up. I answered without changing my expression, old man. He ignored my second comment and muttered to himself, that's right. I have another daughter. Last time Ethan only said he wanted to meet my daughter, he didn't specify which one. What's he rambling about? And why is he dragging me into this? I clapped my hands, ready to go back to my room. He stopped me. Wait. I ignored him. You stop right there. You're going to marry him in your sister's place. That got my attention. I stopped, turned, and looked at him. Me, haha, you are really delusional. Me, marry him? Has he lost his mind? He narrowed his eyes. $5 million, and you marry him. $5 million? Am I really that shallow? Of course, I'm not. I smiled. Okay, Dad. You know I've been eyeing my future brother-in-law for a long time. When do I get to meet him? The meeting with the fiancé was not urgent. To avoid offending Ethan, they decided to make some adjustments to me first. There wasn't much to adjust. Black straight hair, white simple dress. Anyone who looked at me would think I was a good, obedient girl. Even my face is the picture of innocent purity. I actually look more compliant than Daisy. Since they couldn't change my appearance, they started lecturing me about how I should talk. If you absolutely can't manage, just be mute. Me, that won't work. I grew a mouth specifically to talk. My dad, talk less. Me, depends on my mood. My dad, if you're in a good mood, will you talk less? Me, that depends on what makes my mood good. He got the hint. His phone screen lit up. Bank deposit notification, 1 million. TSK, he can casually transfer $1 million. I should have asked for more than 5 million. Ethan and Daisy had never met. Arranged marriages are truly strange. They could discuss the wedding without even having met. Especially since my family offered him absolutely zero benefit, he really was on a charity mission. I couldn't figure him out. I sat by the window in the coffee shop, resting my chin on my hand, stirring the hot milk in my cup boredly. It was too hot to drink. But I was thirsty. So, I ordered an iced milk, too. If I couldn't drink the hot one, the cold one was fine. My dad insisted I get to the coffee shop early to wait, saying I had to make a good impression on Mr. Thorne. A good impression? Ethan's face flashed through my mind, and I paused. Did I forget to tell them that I had met Ethan before? Whatever. It doesn't matter. Drinking milk is more important. I asked the server for 2 straws, putting one in the iced milk and one in the hot milk. Slurp. I took a sip of the cold one. So icy. But the flavor was bland. Hot milk is definitely better. I sipped the left, then the right, occasionally worrying about my already temperamental stomach, when a dark shadow fell over me, blocking the light. Why is he standing right next to me when there are so many open tables? I looked up, annoyed. The face I'd seen 800 times on an A4 sheet of paper over the last few days had stepped into my world as a real person. He sat down opposite me, his dark eyes swirling with hidden emotion. When I met his gaze head-on, he lowered his eyes, looking slightly flustered. His Adam's apple bobbed, and his deep, pleasant voice introduced him. Ms. Leong, nice to meet you. I am Ethan Thorne. I put down the straws and smiled sweetly. It's not the first time we've met, though. Hey there, Kat. Long time no see. I knew Ethan Thorne. I had run into him 3 times at different points in my life. The timeline spanned more than a decade. The first time was 13 years ago, the last was 3 years ago. My life was pretty monotonous, and I hadn't met many people. He was beautiful, the most beautiful person I had ever seen. Society is always kind to beautiful people, and so is memory. Ordinary faces fade and blur over time, but beautiful ones are like aged wine, only deepening with time. Or maybe it was because I never encountered another face as memorable as his. So, I remembered him. He might not remember me. Although I'm good looking, too, he's rich and powerful. He must have plenty of gorgeous people around him. My sister, for example, is super cute. I rested my chin on my hand. Why aren't you saying anything? Don't you remember me? I pretended to clutch my chest. How sad. You don't remember me. Lies. It would be better if he didn't remember me. Our past encounters were never exactly pleasant. Since he said, nice to meet you, he definitely forgot. I waited patiently for his answer. Unexpectedly. Ethan Thorne, I remember. What do you remember? Ethan shot back. What do you want me to remember? I want you to forget. I was just teasing you. Huh, nothing. I avoided his gaze, unconsciously stirring the iced milk again. Alright, never mind that, let's stick to the script. He tilted his head slightly, waiting for me to continue. I wanted to tell him straight up that no one wanted to marry him, but then I remembered the $1 million I'd already pocketed. I couldn't be too blunt. I had to be subtle. I slowly said, "You don't need to be here on a charity mission." He repeated, showing confusion, "Charity mission? When the higher status person voluntarily proposes a marriage to the lower status person, what else is it but charity?" Anyone with half a brain would understand what I was saying. But for whatever reason, Ethan was playing dumb. I racked my brain for a delicate way to put it. "I think you deserve someone better." "Ethan Thorne, I don't agree." It was like, "It's not about what you think, it's about what I think." This conversation was going nowhere. If I didn't speak, he didn't speak. We just stared into each other's eyes. Very awkward. Fortunately, I have thick skin. As long as I'm not embarrassed, the embarrassment falls on the other person. I ordered 2 cups of milk, and I was drinking much slower than him. Heh. The staring contest ended, but he made no move to leave. I had nothing to do. Let me check what Daisy is up to. Feeding pigeons in Paris, and a pigeon pooped on her shirt. I liked the post. Comment, "Bad pigeon. No feeding next time." I zoomed in on the picture to look closely. The photo was taken by a river, and the water faintly reflected another person standing beside her. A man. I angrily posted another comment, "Who are you with?" "What man?" My sister was busy and didn't reply. I tapped the screen and scrolled through my social feed. No new updates. I sighed and put my phone away. I was about to ask Ethan how long he planned to sit there, but I looked up and saw he had been staring at me the whole time. He nearly made me jump. I had already been subtle twice. I earned the money. If Ethan kept staring at me, I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. So I said clearly, "My sister has a boyfriend. Don't be a homewrecker." "Ethan Thorne, what about you?" "Me, I'm not a homewrecker either." Honestly, being stared at was better. That night, I was lying face down on my bed. The room light was off. It was cloudy, no stars, no moon, the sky was pitch black. Only my phone screen glowed with an eerie light. The chat window with Ethan Thorne. We had just added each other as friends that afternoon. My dad was ecstatic, praising me for not ruining things. Actually, I had ruined things. I just wanted my dad's money. The $5 million was paid up front, and the funds were in my account before I even met Ethan. I am a very kind person. I could have ghosted Ethan, but I showed up. Ethan hadn't provoked me, he was an innocent bystander. Marriage, however, was out of the question. To prevent the tragedy of him preparing a wedding without a bride, I decided to be clear with him. I was clear. He didn't accept it. He even claimed he didn't want to meet my sister and that his target had always been me. Why is he so straightforward? If he talks like this, where are the misunderstandings, where are the conflicts, where is the plot development? In the chat box, Ethan asked, "Are you asleep?" Me, yes. Then who is texting me right now? Sleepwalking. The next reply wasn't text. It was a voice message. I hesitated for 2 seconds, didn't press the transcribe button, and listened to the message. He sounded like he was trying to soften his voice, not very skilled at it. Fortunately, his natural voice was already beautiful. It started raining outside the window. His deep, magnetic voice came through the receiver. Gentle, full of longing. Completely different from my initial impression of him. He said, "Joanna, after 13 years, I still crave love very badly. Would you be willing to spare me just a little, Joanna?" My first encounter with Ethan Thorne was 13 years ago, in the winter of 2012. We were both grade schoolers. I lived in a small southern town. The town wasn't big, life moved slowly. Wandering from one end to the other, you'd always see familiar faces. School let out early for kids, especially in the lower grades. Only 2 classes in the afternoon, start at 1:30, finish at 3 o'clock. After school, I didn't like going back to my messy home, nor did I like playing boring games with the silly kids. I liked staying at the edge of the town, looking across the river at the tall city on the other side. The city hadn't expanded outward yet, and the land across the river wasn't fully developed, so our small town wouldn't see growth anytime soon. The only connection between the two places was a regularly scheduled ferry. People carrying large bags crowded the deck, rushing to grab seats, selling candies. The ferry roared, gray smoke billowing from the top. The water was constantly pushed aside, disappearing into the vast, endless river, at least through the eyes of a child. I crouched on the riverbank, letting the cold wind howl over me. The wind blew a dead leaf into my hair and down my collar. Searching for the leaf, I looked up and saw a very handsome boy. He looked a little older than me. I was in second grade. I guessed he might be in third. He wore a small, adult-like suit and a tie, his expression wooden, like a beautiful doll. Not far behind him followed several strong, burly men. Few people ever came to this riverbank. Since he was pretty, I was willing to talk to him. I poked his arm, pointed at the men who looked like bodyguards, and asked, "Who are they?" He ignored me. I poked him again. He still ignored me. A child's time is worthless. I poked him relentlessly. He finally answered, "Bodyguards." I was disappointed. That's a boring answer. The pretty doll tilted his head, showing confusion with his eyes. Kidnappers, or assassins, or maybe the mafia. Haven't you seen TV? That's what happens in TV shows. He didn't speak. The pretty doll was a quiet doll. He would only answer once for every 5 or 6 things I said. Every day after school, I would see him by the riverbank. And every time, he was followed by that group of stern bodyguards. No matter how handsome he was, I couldn't keep doing all the work. My patience lasted only 2 days. Starting the 3rd day, we ignored each other. I occasionally sat by the river reading. I'd turn a page, the tide would roll over the flats. The distant ferry would rumble, pulling away from the dock again. Just another quiet, ordinary day. I closed my book, counting the people on the ferry when the silence was broken by a loud commotion. A woman in a fur coat and high heels appeared, crying hysterically. She rushed over to the beautiful, lost-looking doll next to me, gazing out at the river. She was sobbing. Her cries were sharp, like nails on a blackboard, painful to listen to. I covered my ears, but her voice was inescapable. "Ethan, call your father right now. Tell him you're dying. Tell him to come back." She sounded like a villain on TV, her face undisguisedly venomous. "That woman is pregnant. They found out it's a boy. A boy. If that child is born, both of us will be abandoned." I took my hands away from my ears. Gossip is human nature. Children are no exception. "Little fish, shall you? Why not little cat? I like cats. Meow, meow, meow." The woman was lost in her own emotions. Today is our wedding anniversary, and he's with that woman outside. What is so great about those women? He won't answer my calls. "Ethan, help your mother, just this once." The little cat, no, the little fish, said nothing, as usual. Only the woman's crying continued, endless like the river water. After a long silence, the woman calmed down. I thought she had composed herself and was going to take her son home. The silence was broken not by her words, but by a loud slap. It wasn't just a slap. Her sharp, manicured fingernails sliced his cheek. Droplets of blood rolled into the woman's knuckles. She looked savage. "What good are you to me?" The bodyguards in the distance remained motionless, like trees standing against the wind on the bank, observing the assault. I was an observer, too. Watching him miserably endure the violence of the mother who once shared a heartbeat with him. A long moment later, I saw tears. Clear tears rolled down her cheeks. They weren't coming from the pretty doll's face, but from his mother's. She cried as she gently pulled him into a hug, softly singing him a lullaby. She told him, "I'm sorry." This exact scene played out in front of me 3 times. I started wondering if I was dreaming, as the lines were mostly the same. No, wait, there were slight differences. The first time, the little cat's face was cut. The second time, his arm was bruised purple. The third time, he was being choked, close to suffocating. He was almost dead. The bodyguards finally woke up and took away the still hysterical woman. He should have gone to the hospital, but he didn't. He sat silently on the riverbank, and I sat next to him. Suddenly, he asked me, if I jump, will I die? Yeah, probably. Gurgle, gurgle, and you'll die. A few days later, you'll swell up like a giant and float back up. Let me tell you, bodies that have been soaking for a while are super ugly. I saw one here once. You couldn't even tell what they looked like when they were alive. I said excitedly, are you gonna jump? If you die, try not to drift away. Once you swell up, I'll find a fishing net and pull you out. I just heard, that some people explode after they die, boom. I made an exploding gesture, looking at him expectantly. He frowned, you've seen that? I sighed regretfully, I haven't seen one explode. He fell silent again. I didn't give up, poking his arm, kitty cat, are you jumping? He looked down, I'm not a cat. I ignored him. Kitty cat. I'm not. Kitty cat. I have a name. Kitty cat. He couldn't take it anymore, my name is Ethan Thorne. Me, Ethan Kitty Cat. Ethan Kitty Cat didn't jump. I managed to annoy him. I didn't see him for the next 2 days. On the third day, he reappeared. I waved at him. He paused, but continued to walk toward me. I got close to him, Kitty Cat, you still haven't told me if you're jumping. Tell me when you do, I want to fish you out. This time, he didn't correct my nickname, but instead asked, if I die, will they regret it? I looked blankly at him. His expression was serious. Soft snow was falling outside. I asked him just as seriously, if they regret it, what happens? Will they die, too? He said, they will love me. That's it? I wrinkled my nose, wow, you're cheap. No wonder they don't love you. Just a little bit of love in exchange for his life. They don't love you. You should grab them by the head and force them to love you, not wag your tail and beg for pity like a lapdog. I don't want to play with a dummy like you anymore. If you die, I won't fish you out. You're too stupid. I don't like stupid people. Stupidity is contagious. I didn't go to the riverbank for a while after that. I found a new secret spot and never saw him there again. The second time I met Ethan Thorne, I was 14. My biological parents had found me, and I had been home for 4 years. I attended a private school. Our new family had money, but in this world, there are always people who have more money. In that circle, my family was bottom tier. My sister and I were ordered to suck up to the sons and daughters of families with better backgrounds. Daisy was sweet and cute, like a soft bun. Everyone wanted to bully her. One young man was particularly disgusting. He was barely a teenager, and I don't know what was in his head, but he started getting handsy with my sister. Daisy is dumb, too. But she's my sister, so I can tolerate her. She didn't have the biological knowledge to know exactly what he was trying to do. She just told me, sis, I don't like it when he touches my hand. I was furious. I lured the boy out under Daisy's name and beat him up. To prevent him from telling his parents, I stripped him naked and demanded he apologize on his knees. In the video, he was crying, snot and tears everywhere, looking hideous. I shook my phone, threatening him, if you tell anyone, this video is going out to every person who knows you. He was scared witless and grabbed his clothes and ran. I clapped my hands, completely satisfied. I did this in the school woods. I was humming a tune, heading back to class, when I turned and heard a quiet laugh from a corner. There are security cameras here. The uniform at this private school was great English style. The person who spoke was tall, at least 6 feet. He looked even better in the uniform. I looked up and saw a handsome face that looked somewhat familiar. After thinking hard, I recalled the distant elementary school memory. He seemed to have grown in perfect proportion and become even better looking. I cocked my head. Cat? Ethan Thorne, I'm not Cat. It is Cat, then. I can help you take care of the camera footage. That's nice of him. I patted his shoulder approvingly. Good kitty cat. He was silent for a moment. I didn't know you were here. Well, you know now. His silence was longer this time. It took him a while to add the next sentence. I'm moving overseas tomorrow. Will you come see me off? No, I have class tomorrow. But I'm leaving. I said unhappily, I still have to go to class. He pulled the corners of his mouth, a rather ugly attempt at a smile. Do you have anything you want to say goodbye? I thought for a moment. I've never been overseas. He listened patiently. I blinked. Check out the world for me, kitty cat. Oh, the bell rang. I have to go to class. Bye. His voice faded away against the sound of Croatian Rhapsody playing faintly on the piano. The next time we meet. I couldn't hear the rest. The school bell was too loud. I don't know what he said after the next time we meet. The next time I saw him was 4 years later. I realized that my childhood assessment of him wasn't accurate. Maybe boys grow slower when they're little, but he wasn't just 1 year older than me, he was 3 years older. 3 years older and still so dense when he was little. Hopeless. I heard he skipped grades in high school and college abroad. When he returned, he systematically destroyed all his father's illegitimate children, then bundled both his parents off to a mental institution. The Thorne family became his kingdom. I was at some boring black tie gala, and his name was being thrown around so much, good things, bad things, always his name, my ears were ringing. I was annoyed. I went up to the second floor, found a quiet spot, and ate cake by myself. He was at this gala, too. At the mansion entrance, he was surrounded by people, the center of attention. I watched the show from upstairs, settling in comfortably. He must have sensed me and looked up. I waved at him. He immediately looked back down, showing no acknowledgement. He seems to have forgotten me. I chewed my cake. It was normal, I guess. He wasn't the pathetic little boy anymore. The total time we spent together, even counting everything up, was less than a month. It would be weird if he did remember. I finished my cake and tossed the disposable paper plate toward the trash can. I missed. It landed right on the passing Ethan Thorne on the first floor. White cream splattered his hair. He looked completely caught off guard. Everyone's eyes immediately flashed over. Their expressions suggested I had done it deliberately to get his attention. The heavens know I wasn't even throwing it in his direction. I could have sworn I was aiming straight for the bin. Why did he suddenly walk over there? He was setting me up. But no one would believe me. After all, he's a huge deal now, and people try to approach him in every way possible. I didn't change my expression. My apologies. Time to make a run for it. Don't let him catch me. I heard he holds a serious grudge now. He has different revenge plans depending on the severity of the offense. Setting aside the small cake incident, I was a witness to his humiliation when he was a child. It's hard to say whether he might want to silence me permanently. If it were me. Yeah, I would definitely do that. I would never allow anyone to know how pathetic I once was after I achieved success. Speaking of which, my adoptive parents are also in a mental hospital. We must have the same thought process. I better avoid him. Luckily, he's already forgotten me. Why would Ethan Thorne want to get married? It's strange. His dad cheated, his mom was obsessed with romance. The former produced a bunch of illegitimate children and drove his wife mad, ignoring his legitimate son. The latter, instead of tormenting her cheating husband, tormented her child. A guy from that kind of background wants to get married. But his qualifications are genuinely excellent. If he wanted to marry, people would line up. Who would refuse a rich, busy husband who is never home? Plus, he's handsome. Zero pressure to sleep with him. I get it now. Though many people dislike their parents and try to escape their family origin, genes are passed down generation to generation. People unconsciously become like their parents. Ethan Thorne, like his mother, is obsessed with romance. Regarding that voice message that was almost a confession. I could have ignored it, read it, and left him on ghosted. But I'm a kind person. I replied, I'm an anti-marriage person. Don't waste your life on me. Deleting friend now, wishing you happiness. I closed my eyes. I was so touched by my own goodness. If I were meaner, I would have just strung him along. He looked very willing to be strung along. I am simply too kind. A person shouldn't be too kind. The kind get exploited. Since I met Ethan Thorne, he started showing up frequently. I saw him every few days. The next time I ran into him, I asked, "Are you pursuing me?" He presented me with a bouquet of white roses. Yes. I said earnestly, "You don't need to waste time on me." He said, "It's not a waste." I couldn't reason with him. My fate is so harsh. What's even harsher is that one morning I woke up in a strange room. I checked myself. My clothes were intact, nothing was touched. My head didn't hurt, my legs weren't weak, and I wasn't shackled. Only my body had been moved to this room. I walked out of the bedroom and found Ethan Thorne in the kitchen wearing an apron, cooking. I sat in the dining room and waited for him to finish. 4 dishes and a soup. Good presentation. I didn't hold back. Free food is free food. He was a good cook. I was very satisfied. After I ate, he actively cleared the dishes. Very husband-like. I lounged lazily on the couch to digest. Why did you kidnap me? The dishes went into the dishwasher, no need to waste time washing them by hand. The other side of the couch dipped down. He sat next to me. I like you. I motioned for him to continue. But you don't seem to like me. I looked up at the ceiling. That's not exactly true. I like you quite a bit. He is handsome, after all. But marriage is a different matter entirely. Ethan Thorne didn't change his attitude because of my comment. His expression was steady, and he stressed, "You don't love me." A moment ago, it was like, "Don't change the terms so quickly." You're right. I shouldn't beg for love and pity like a lapdog. He moved closer to me. Too close. His breath effortlessly brushed my nose, mingling with mine. I knew exactly what his next sentence would be. I tried to save myself. A forced relationship won't be sweet. He lowered his head. His lips, cool and soft, pressed against mine. Just like my first impression of him. He whispered, "If you don't force it, you won't get the melon. If you don't twist it, you don't get the fruit." He clumsily parted my lips, exploring very unskillfully. Both our breaths grew ragged. Ethan's left hand cupped the back of my head, deepening the kiss constantly. I instinctively wrapped my arms around his neck. We drew closer, intertwining tighter and tighter. My legs wrapped around his waist. He asked in a low voice, "Do you want some post-meal digestion exercise? Can we exercise right after eating?" We could try. Wait a minute. That would be going straight to the dessert course, wouldn't it? I'll puke. I couldn't find my clothes anywhere. I blindly reached for the sofa cushion and held it up to cover myself. I said weakly, "Post-meal exercise is bad for your health. I don't think we should." Ethan Thorne held up a small piece of fabric between his fingers. "Staying here tonight?" I blinked. "Will you let me go back?" He smiled. "No." "Then why ask?" "I always respect your opinion." "Respecting my opinion by kidnapping me? Do you know this is abduction?" "Yes." "What do you mean, yes?" He ran his fingers through my hair. "Should have kidnapped you sooner." Giving back as good as I got, I poked his abs. "Ethan Thorne, do you really want me to string you along?" I was trying to be kind for once. The memory of his quiet, numb face overlapped with the flushed face in front of me now. Clearly, the little boy was more pathetic, but I didn't pity him then. Now, as he panted underneath my palm, a sudden, cross-temporal wave of pity washed over me. I flipped over, sitting on his waist, looking down at him. His beautiful eyes were filled entirely with my reflection. I leaned down and kissed his lips first. His body stiffened. He couldn't control his strength and squeezed my waist too hard. I swatted his face in annoyance. "Be gentle," he asked in a deep, hoarse voice. "Why aren't you calling me kitty cat anymore?" I granted his wish. "Ethan kitty cat, you can kiss me now." I think it started snowing outside. Epilogue, Ethan Thorne. I think it's snowing. It rarely snows in southern cities. The snow that is commonplace in the north is a cause for public excitement here. Even if it's just a few white flakes drifting down from the sky. Joanna was excited. She stretched out her hand to catch them. Kitty cat, look, it's snowing." I corrected her. "My name isn't Kitty Cat." "Oh, Kitty Cat." It was always like this. I asked her once why she called me Kitty Cat. Did I look like a cat? She answered matter-of-factly, "Your name is Ethan Thorne Siayu, right?" I didn't understand and looked at her quietly. She used her finger to draw a picture. Fish. I don't like fish. I like cats, so I'll call you Kitty Cat. It was completely impossible to understand her. She didn't need anyone to understand her, she just forced the nickname on me. She was excited about the snow for a while before settling down. The ferry at the dock set sail again, and she started counting the heads of the people on board. The things she did were also strange. The river water was churned murky by the ferry. I drifted off, remembering what Joanna had said yesterday. If I jumped in the river, I would die, and after death, I would swell up really big. If I died nearby, she could fish me out. She was so small, how could she possibly pull me out? My father and mother were fighting on the phone again. Last night, mother choked my neck and asked why I couldn't win father's affection. I murmured to Joanna, "If I die, will they regret it? Will they regret neglecting me, regret that their child was tormented by them until he took his own life?" Joanna looked shocked. She gave me a look that said I was an idiot. "You want to die just to make others regret it? Is that not allowed?" She called me cheap and stupid, saying I was a lapdog who only begged for mercy. She wasn't wrong. She stood up. Even standing straight, she was still small. If they don't love you, why don't you grab them and force them to love you? If that doesn't work, just kill them all. See if they choose to love you or choose to die. Only dummies threaten people with their own lives. Smart people threaten them with their lives. You're too stupid. I'm not playing with you anymore. She left angrily that day. The first day, she didn't come back. The second day, she still didn't come back. I stayed in this southern town for a long time, but I never saw her again. She seemed to really be done playing with me. A snowflake drifted onto my palm, melting from my body heat. She was right. Those who don't love me can be kidnapped. I stroked the length of her long hair in my arms. Including her.